Yujian. Hello, hello. Welcome to Give Me Five. Thank you for taking the time
How's
to
it
give me.
going, MK?
It's going well. It's going well, Eugen. And folks that are joining us today, we have CEO at OSS4AI, Yujian Tang. It's an honor to have you here. Eugen, uh, as we just jump right into it, could you tell us a bit about your journey to open source software and why this space matters to you?
Yeah, so I started out as a software engineer. I've been working in software for a while. I worked on a lot of open source projects when I was first starting out. Actually, I think I remember NumPy and SciPy being two projects that I used in college. And then after some time at Amazon, I got into an open source company called Zillus that worked on an open source vector database called Milvus. And through that, I got to work on a lot of the really early LLM-based software like LangChain and Llama Index and a lot of these early open source things. And I think it's really important that people get access to open source tools because it gives you a very low cost of entry. I mean, it's basically free to use these tools into the space and it helps you learn a lot about the technology. And I think it's really important to have that foundational learning.
Thank you for that, Eugen. And you kind of started getting into this a little bit. I'm curious to hear, like, what advice would you give your younger self, like a younger Eugen or someone new to the space, trying to find their way?
Yeah, so I think like number one thing is to kind of figure out like what you like to do. So I was kind of lucky that I stumbled into like programming when I was very young. I was like 13 or something like that. And I was just like, oh, this is cool. And I think like it's very important that you don't just take like a service level approach. Like you start diving into how things work as quickly as you can. And sometimes it's very hard to do that. But luckily, with open source like libraries, there's a lot of resources around being able to like ask questions on forums or even once you get to a certain level to go in and just read the code. And so I think advice for my younger self is just like, try talking to more people on the forums and like getting into like live events near you if you can.
I love that. I love that. What are you currently building, and how can NumFocus and PyData community support you?
I do a lot of things. I'm like one of those people that has like, you look at this person, you're like, this person probably has ADHD. I build like a ton of different things. So I have the OSS4AI community. This is a live community that I build. We're at about 48,000 developers. We do events. I've done a couple events with PyData. I've worked with, Abby over at PyData New York. And I helped with the SciPy event a couple years ago. So, it's great to get involved with the PyData community in that way. And then I have a book slash training website called Cracking Gen AI, which is kind of takes the open source ethos of like the code and instead takes it and puts the questions, answers of concepts and different things like that and makes that all free to the public. So I build a lot of these different tools that are just kind of available for developers, and I would love just people to try them out, and I would love to get some feedback on them.
And just given that you are CEO at OSS4AI, I would love to hear your hot take on AI, especially as it pertains to open science.
Yeah, I think like my hot take on this is that AI is nowhere near as good as Twitter makes you think, wants you to think that it is. I think once you start like really playing around with stuff, like the text models are all quite good, but so I think like a lot of it is like right now we're in such an early stage. People think like, oh, AI is a bubble. I don't think we're even anywhere near like what like the peak is going to look like. I think like all the text models are kind of like where text models are kind of where we want them to be. But I think right now, like, the whole like people thinking AI is a bubble thing is like really like around like the hype that's being created on social media. And I particularly call out Twitter because Twitter happens to be like, very, very guilty of doing this. But like we a lot of the things that AI can do, we haven't even like really seen what it can do at a broad scale. So we've seen like some introductory things like, can it generate audio? Can it generate images? Can it generate video? Yes. But are these tools really at the level that, these companies and social media wants us to think it is? Like, definitely not. And so there's a lot of these things that I think like these multimodal tools and like the agentic tools where it's not just like the LLM itself, but the LLM using other tools. This is where we're going to see a lot of improvements, and this is where a lot of open source stuff I hope like continues to do really well.
Right. Well, Eugen, thank you so much for your time, good sir. Before we go, can I ask you to give me five one more time?
Let's do it.
Okay. Whew.
Gimme 5 is a NumFocus production. Support open source software today by donating at numfocus.org.